Advertising and the media. You know, it's a classic topic in both speaking and writing, but it actually hides something subtle, something that examiners quietly reward. It's about knowing which words are neutral, which are positive, and which are negative.
If you use a negative word when you really meant a neutral one, your whole meaning just kind of slips sideways. And honestly, that slip is a classic Band 6 signal. But here's the good news. If we sort out 5 specific words today, you'll be able to show exactly the kind of nuance that lifts an essay to a Band 7. It gives the examiner the sense that you don't just know the words, you actually know their color. Now, don't worry about memorizing a list today. Just follow along with the story, and you'll naturally feel where each one sits. Welcome back to Mina's IELTS Notebook. It is absolutely wonderful to have you here for this explainer. Let's dive right in.
Let's start with the neutral one, influence. To influence someone is simply to affect their thoughts or behavior. There's no judgment attached to it, good or bad. For example, advertising influences what we buy, or she had a strong influence on my choices. It's a great idea to keep the common pairings in mind, like have an influence on, or strongly influence. So when you want that clean, perfectly neutral word with neither praise nor blame, influence is the one you want. Now, influence is neutral, but when that influence becomes deliberate, like when someone gives you actual reasons to try and get you to act, the word is persuade. Think about it like this. The advert persuaded me to try the product, or a good speaker can persuade an audience. And just so you know, its adjective, persuasive, is a really strong Band 7 word. You might write about a persuasive argument. Persuade is usually fair and open. It's really all about winning someone over with reasons.
Now, persuade has a very close cousin, and honestly, mixing them up is one of the most common slips there is. That word is convince. We're going to slow down a bit right here because the difference between them is small, but it's very real. Persuade is about getting someone to act. Convince, on the other hand, is about getting someone to believe. So, she persuaded me to buy it. Well, that's an action. But the evidence convinced me it was true. That is a belief. Remember, you persuade to do. You convince that something is true. Get that distinction right, and you instantly sound so much more precise.
So far, so fair, right? But influence also has a dark side. When it's done unfairly, secretly, or just for someone's own advantage, that word is manipulate. For instance, the media can manipulate public opinion, or he felt manipulated by the advert. Its adjective is manipulative. The thing to remember here is that manipulate always sounds bad. It implies control through unfair means. It's a far stronger and far more negative word than influence.
And manipulate actually has a quieter partner, which is mislead. To mislead someone is to give them a false impression, basically to lead them toward a wrong belief. Think of a sentence like, the headline misled readers. Its adjective, misleading, is such a precise, high-value word for your essays. You could write about a misleading advertisement. So, where manipulate is really about unfair control, mislead is more about creating a false picture. Okay, now here's the part that's really going to make today's lesson click. Let's put all 5 of these words onto one single thing, a single advertisement, and you'll be able to feel exactly how they differ. I want you to just picture one advert in your mind. At the very simplest level, it influences you. It affects what you notice and think about. Now, a good, honest advert persuades you to buy. It gives you real reasons to act. If it's truthful, it convinces you the product genuinely works. Now you believe it. But a dishonest advert might manipulate you, playing on your fears and insecurities for the company's gain. Or it might mislead you, maybe with a headline that leaves you believing something that simply isn't true. So there you go, 5 words, and they run on a spectrum from perfectly neutral all the way to clearly dishonest. So, what does this look like in practice? Well, in a media essay, instead of saying something basic like, the media influences people and makes them believe things, you could now write this. While advertising legitimately persuades consumers, some media outlets manipulate public opinion with misleading claims. It's the exact same topic, but just look at the control in that sentence. You have neutral, positive, and negative words, and each one is placed exactly where it belongs. That level of precision, that sense of color, is exactly what Band 7 looks like.
Let's calmly lock these in. First, influence. To affect thoughts or behavior. Advertising influences what we buy. Remember, this one is neutral with no good or bad attached. Second, persuade. To get someone to act using reasons. The advert persuaded me to buy it. Remember, this is usually fair, and persuasive is a fantastic Band 7 adjective. Third, convince. To get someone to believe. The evidence convinced me it was true. Remember the rule. Persuade to do, convince to believe. Fourth,
Manipulate, to influence unfairly or deceptively. The media can manipulate opinion. Remember, this is always negative, meaning control through unfair means. And fifth, mislead, to give a false impression. The headline misled readers. Remember, this one leads you to a wrong belief. To sum it up in one line, influence means effect, which is neutral. Persuade is to get to act. Convince is to get to believe. Manipulate is unfair control, and mislead is a false impression.
Before you go, I want to share two quick things. This is what actually makes the vocabulary stick. First is shadowing. After we're done, go back through the review list and say each sentence out loud, right after me, trying to copy the rhythm. Reading silently just builds mute English. Saying it out loud is what truly makes it yours. Second is the 3-day rule. Watch this explainer once today, once tomorrow, and once the day after. 3 short visits totally beat 1 long cram session. That's how you beat the forgetting curve, and how these words become the ones you automatically reach for under pressure.
And one last thing. I'd love for you to tell me in the comments, using today's words, name one advert that genuinely persuaded you and one that tried to mislead you. Try your best to answer in a full sentence. That is your very first bit of real practice. You've totally got this. I'll see you in the next explainer. This has been Mina's IELTS Notebook.